Hey, so Luca, welcome. Thank you for being my first guest on my YouTube channel. Huge fan of yours. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who's Luca Rosano?
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. And yeah, I'm loving the fact that you're doing the show and getting guests on. Definitely great to see somebody else in content creation. But yeah, no, that's who I am. I've been in content creation for many years now. Let's say close to a decade. Started
Mm-hmm.
out on YouTube, then moved on to TikTok, and now I'm actually covering the team for the Raptors Nation.
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
saw. I saw your post. So congrats.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. A little bit of a stepping stone in my career. Like I'm still definitely continuing the individual content creation, still on my YouTube channel, my TikTok, but to be able to now cover the team as a career is a dream come true of mine. So yeah, I'll be doing a lot of article, news writing, YouTube, and hopefully, I'll be able to cover the team in the press box soon enough and be able to get the inside scoops for everybody watching at home. So yeah, I've just been immersed in content creation, and the Toronto Raptors, my favorite team, has been something that I've been covering since day one. And I'm a huge Raptors fan, as you know, a huge NBA fan, and I've kind of just
Sure.
combined my passion into this career that kind of just took off. So couldn't be more happy.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. Like I saw you. I kind of followed you in high school, and I did look at your content that you produce on YouTube a lot. And then when you shifted to TikTok, you took TikTok by storm, man. Like I love your videos. I love everything, man. Like good for you. Like you inform everyone amazingly every day.
Thank you, man. Yeah, just that's a passion of mine. Just mixing in like storytelling with content and just my love of sports, particularly like I said, Raptors and the
Yeah,
NBA.
same. That's same for me. It's same for me. Like, we're kind of neighbors. You're in Vaughan, I'm in Markham, but it's the love of the team and the love of the hometown that we do this, honestly. But Luca, I want to start by saying, like, did you always see yourself, like, I know as a child probably you were a diehard Raptors fan, but did you always see yourself in the sports media industry?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because like my ultimate like dream as a kid was to play in the NBA, but I'm a short dude. So once I stopped growing, I'm like, there goes that dream. So from that, like I just grew up watching Raptors games as you and many people did. And I just fell in love with the broadcasting side of things,
Yeah, for
listening
sure.
to
Yeah.
Chuck Swirsky back in the day, very,
Yeah.
very legendary. He did a phenomenal job. And just like listening to the broadcasters in general when it came to NBA games, I developed a love for like storytelling. And then I remember like I used to be in like my driveway
Hmm.
playing basketball by myself, whatever, putting up some shots. And I would actually like commentate and like make up like late game scenarios and like not only shoot but like commentate my own play. And yeah, I just knew from a young age that I wanted to work in sports and I wanted to do something in basketball. And obviously with the rise of YouTube and these other social media platforms, it made it easy to make
Yep.
content, put it out there, get recognized, and then transition into doing this as a career. And that basically is what happened. So yeah, when a lot of people don't know what they want to do in life till later, but I was fortunate to know that like at a young age I wanted to work in sports and definitely cover the NBA in some way, shape, or form for a living.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. Like, right from the get-go that that was the future of Luca Rosano in the sports industry. Not a lot of people, like you said, know what they want to do, from a young age. That's common. That's something that'll come later on in life. But I mean, now that you're in the sports industry, like you said, you had a passion for it. You love the Raptors. I love the Raptors too. I'm a diehard fan since I was a kid. Watched the TSN Sportsnet just like probably you did. So where do you see yourself now that you're in this industry? Where do you see yourself, like? What's the future looking like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, one of the biggest reasons why I took this job opportunity was, I want to take it to the next step. Like content creation is always going to be a passion of mine. It's always going to be something that I'm extremely integrated in and I'm never going to stop it.
Yeah, for
But,
sure.
taking it to the next level. And what I mean by that is just like being immersed in what's going on. So being like, the team beat writer, being that journalist that's in the the scrums, getting the scoop and being involved in the locker room. I think that's what's next for me. And that's one of the reasons why I took this opportunity, because I think that's in line of just, being around the team, being able to get to the practices, interviewing the coach, interviewing the players. That's like my ultimate dream and something that I've always wanted to do when I was young. So, being able to have that stepping stone from like, content creation to like journalist, I think that is like where I see myself and what I'm trying to do now. So, I think that kind of like integrates everything that I've been doing over the last couple of years into this one, new role of, all the stuff that I've learned, creating content from scratch, creating stories from scratch, and now, doing it with, you know, uh, as it pertains to the Raptors. I think that's going to be huge. And yeah, I definitely see myself in this space for a very long time and just covering the Raptors in basketball for the foreseeable future.
Oh, that's great to hear, man. That's great to hear. Wish you the best of luck with that. Hopefully you get on the sidelines. I see you on TSN Sportsnet. We did that happen, man. I'm looking forward to it. But now we're gonna turn our attention towards the Toronto Raptors, our hometown team. What are your prospects for this upcoming season? The roster, will there be roster changes in the foreseeable future? We don't know yet, but what do you want to see with this team coming into this season?
Yeah, I think the preseason was very promising. I think there was a lot of speculation on how this team would look under new head coach Darko Rajakovic. And of course, there's a lot of questions going into the season. What's the future of Pascal Siakam? Are the Raptors going to get an extension done with him? What's the future of OG Anunoby? Gary Trent Jr. still hasn't been extended. So you got three pretty big components of this Raptors team who are set to become unrestricted free agents in the summer 2024. But in terms of the now, I think this Raptors team will be better than last season. I said it from when they lost Fred VanVleet. I thought, a lot of people, thought right away that was going to be, the deal breaker for the Raptors, and they were going to spin out of the play-in and be a bottom tier team. But I actually think it's going to have the opposite effect. And we're seeing it, right? I think, by not having Fred VanVleet there, Scotty Barnes is going to take on more of a role with the ball handling with his offense. And we're starting to see a little bit of a nice 1-2 punch with him and Siakam brewing. I think Dennis Schroeder, excellent complementary traditional point guard to have with this type of personnel, because Schroeder's not a guy who's going to look for his offense as much as Fred did. He's going to, defer, look for his teammates. And we saw it in some of the preseason play, really deferring to, Scotty Barnes and Siakam. I think he had like 11 assists in his final preseason game. So I think the Raptors are going to exceed expectations. They're going to be better than what a lot of people think. And yeah, when you look at kind of the pauses of this team, looks like the offense is going to be good. The new look offense, the 0.5 offense, has been a breath of fresh air. Guys sharing the basketball, no more of that stagnant offense that we're used to seeing. So you hope that translates now to the real thing in the regular season. I think the bench is going to be a lot better. We've seen it already. A lot of guys coming in, being impact players. I think Gary Trent Jr. has a chance to really own that 6-man role. You got some other guys like McDaniels who's impressed me. You're going to have Precious, Chris Boucher, obviously rookie Grady Dick. We'll see if he gets rotation minutes, but even an Otto Porter Jr., I'm looking forward to if he can stay healthy, because he's still, a 3-AD guy who can come in and impact games. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about for sure. And the main thing has just been the overall vibes. Like you've seen it. Like
Sure.
the
Yeah, the
team.
shift has just drastically changed from last season. I mean, this team is looking so much smoother with the ball movement. I've been noticing it's actually insane how Darko's just translated like the ball movement that was so stagnant, that was so bad last season, and kind of shifted it into this positive, more beautiful kind of ball moving connection between the players. I love it. I love it, man. I love
Yeah, and like yeah, and you just hope this translates. And again, the vibes, they seem to be there. Players are getting along with each other, which is great to see, sharing smiles. They had an epic Halloween party last night,
yeah, they
which
did.
looked pretty dope. I'm not
They're
gonna
pretty
lie.
good. They
So
look
you
pretty
want to
good.
see that type of team chemistry, team bonding,
Yeah.
especially when you're about to enter a long grind that is the regular
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. Like even off the court, when they get along, it's going to translate onto good basketball on the court when they play together. So that's beautiful to see. Um, so we covered the preseason, moving into the regular season. But in general, what do you think of this new head coach? I know it's just been the preseason. I know it's only been a few games, but coming into the season, it's the season's right around the corner. What do you feel this coach is going to bring to this new, culture, this whole new game plan that he's going to probably implement for us? What do you think?
Well, he's a player development coach, which is great, and he's going to work a lot with the younger players. And he seems like a player's coach. You've seen it. He really resonates well with the players. You could tell there's a mutual respect there. And then beyond that, I think he's just going to uplift this offense, which we've already seen, his point five philosophy, and having different guys touch the basketball, it being more of a team effort. I think we're going to see that at the forefront. He said that he wants to implement a 10-man rotation, and that's a drastic difference from what we saw with Nick Nurse, who elected to go with a shorter rotation. So Darko now, he's going to have his five main starters, and then we're going to see an actual bench out there. And the Raptors haven't had a competent bench mob type of vibe in a while. And we're seeing there is the potential here where the Raptors bench can get back to playing at a high level. And I think that's going to be huge. And another thing is Darko's not going to drive these starters to the ground, which was an area of concern in the last couple of seasons where like the starters were logging heavy minutes. The Raptors were at the top of the league when it came to their starters playing the most minutes. And having now bench guys come in, alleviate that pressure, you're going to keep those starters fresh for the second half of games, especially in the fourth quarter. So I think it's going to make all the difference in the world. Darko, he's enjoying it. Like I said, the players are gravitating well towards him. It's been very smooth to say the least. A perfect start to this tenure, if you will. I know it's preseason, it doesn't count,
I mean,
but it was the perfect dress rehearsal. You couldn't have asked for a
yeah,
better preseason to now enter the regular season. And I mean, just developing those winning habits are going to go a long way. Doing the little things well, which they have been, and I really think Darko is going to get the most out of this group, and that's what the Raptors management is hoping for. They want Darko to come in, unlock, and unleash the potential of these younger players, particularly Barnes, who has looked great, and also implement more of like a team style of play. And we've seen it, like you touched it on it, like the ball movement has looked
yeah.
super sharp. So I really like what I've seen from Rajakovic, and yeah, let's just hope that by the end of it we're all looking at that hire being a very excellent one. And I feel pretty confident now that we will be saying that.
Yeah, for sure. Like in general, I say it's very promising. Like this team is very looking promising compared to last season. I mean, Luca, like we are not the 2019 roster in the sense that we lost Kawhi Leonard. We have Pascal as a star, but since we have all these beautiful rotational guys that Darko brought in with Jalen McDaniels, Dennis Schroeder, Marcus Noel, even Morgan Freeman Liberty, he's been an amazing pickup as well. You just see the whole roster change, even with Grady Dick. He's a rookie. Rookie campaign. Let's see how it goes. His three-pointer is looking sharp in the preseason, so hopefully that correlates into the regular season as well. But yeah, like honestly, the Raptors are looking good, and we hope for the best for them.
Yeah, we. I think when you look at the over under, I think it was set very low by like Vegas and the odds makers. And I like I said, I think this team is going to end up winning more games than last
Yeah,
season
for
without
sure.
Fred
Yeah,
VanVleet.
yeah. I think they're going to be even a higher seed than as compared to last season. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But moving on to the regular like NBA, which team did you feel acquired the best players in the offseason who kind of made the right vocational moves for their team or drafted, like Victor Wembanyama to San Antonio Spurs? That's been an amazing pickup. This man is balling out for them. So how do you feel about the just the general NBA atmosphere? Which teams acquired the right players?
Yeah, like the Spurs obviously fell into that first overall pick, so it was a no-brainer taking Wembanyama. I think he's going to be a generational talent. I mean, you see some of the clips, like this dude's as advertised. Like I think we're going to be, I don't want to overreact, but I think we're going to be like mentioning Victor Wembanyama in some very important conversations when it's all said and done, because like this dude is phenomenal. Like he's a freak of
Yeah,
nature. I'm excited to watch him play. I really am. Like we've seen him in many stints here in the preseason. He had like a ridiculous 2 minute like sequence against the Warriors. The
I
dude was
saw that.
blocking shots, like blocking like quality NBA players like nothing, like Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and then, getting it done on the other end. So I think he's going to be truly special. I think he's going to live up to the hype. I think it was bogus when people were already saying, "Oh, he's going to be a bust and he's going to get injured and all this stuff." No, I think Victor Wembanyama is legit, and he's going to prove it as soon as this season. And then in terms of just like the most impactful moves, I
Mhm.
mean, you got to look to the East. I think the East, the top two teams, did what they needed to do to get a lot better. I think it started with the Celtics
Mhm.
making the hard move of trading the heart and soul of their team, like a guy who's been there for so long in Marcus Smart, and going all in and bringing in a guy like Kristaps Porzingis. I think Porzingis, if he can stay healthy, is going to make all the difference for that team. And then
For sure.
obviously we got the Bucks coming out of nowhere in the Damian Lillard sweepstakes when it looked like it was either going to be Miami or the Raptors. And then the Bucks made the biggest move of the offseason. And then I liked how the Celtics rebounded from that and then got Drew Holiday, who's the guy that could potentially stop Damian Lillard in a best of seven. So I look at the East of those two teams in particular making some very big splashes to put them in that
Yeah.
championship tier and kind of separate themselves from the rest of the East. And then in the West, I really like what the Lakers and Suns did. They didn't make, well, the Suns made the splashy move of getting Bradley Beal, but I look at their acquisitions more so of them making solid pickups when it comes to their depth. Like you look at the Suns, they had their big three after trading for Beal, and they needed to go out and sign quality role players, which I think they did. A guy like Yuta Watanabe, I think is going to do well for them. You look at Eric Gordon, I think
Mhm.
he's going to be a good piece. And then for the Lakers side of things, they didn't make a splashy move, but I like the fact that they brought back some of their key pieces. Austin Reeves, they got him to a bargain deal. And them being able to also bring in a quality role player, a guy like Gabe Vincent, who was so instrumental to the Miami Heat championship run. So I like what those two teams did in particular. And overall, I think it's going to be a very fun season, Daniel. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of parity. There's going to be many teams you can make a case for going all the way. And we
Mhm.
haven't had this in a very long time in the NBA where it feels so wide open that multiple teams are going to have a shot to win the title. So
For
I'm
sure.
excited.
Like you're looking at if you look at last season's standings and compare it to now, those teams like in the seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth, even like go down the list, you see how much they've improved. And like you said, it's like this open gate now. Like everyone can go into the playoffs. Everyone has a chance, has a shot, big shot of claiming the NBA championship. Um, like the Hawks are better. The Bucks got better. The Celtics, like you said, I think now that we've talked about like which players move to which teams, what do you feel like? Who do you feel is going to make it into the postseason, and how does the postseason's gonna how is it gonna go forward this season? And also,
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just going to pull up some standings here from last season because yeah, you know what, like you said, I think we're gonna get a lot of leaps from teams that were on the lower end of the standings a season ago in the East in particular and make that jump. But yeah, just to run down standings and what I see, I think the top two is a foregone conclusion in the East. Bucks, Celtics interchangeable. I think Cleveland will get that 3 spot. Then you look at Philadelphia. I don't know. There's question marks there with James Harden, who continues to be out with personal reason. So you don't know if that's going to develop into like the Sixers trading him and being forced to do that. And I think that might be the case. This is like looking like a Ben Simmons 2.0 case once again. I think the Knicks are still going to be there. I actually got the Raptors as a 6 seed. I do think the Raptors are going to get a playoff spot just because I think there's going to be some teams that could potentially take a step back. Like I don't think the Nets are going to be a playoff team. You mentioned the Hawks getting better. I just think that's still a middling team. The Bulls I don't trust. And then kind of the teams that I look at have taken that next step, like Magic and the Pacers. I think those are going to be two young teams that surprise a lot of people.
yeah,
Um,
Pacers that
but
got Kobe Toppin, for example, like that's going to be a huge plus for them.
yeah, so I think the East is going to be fun, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of middling teams. So that's an opportunity for the Raptors to kind of take a leap and get into one of those playoff spots, which
Yeah,
I think is going to be the case because basically in the East, it's Bucks Celtics interchangeable. And then after that, like you can make a case for how the standings are going to finish, 3 through 10. Like I think it has a chance for being that wide open. Like maybe you give the benefit of the doubt to the Cavs and say they're that 3 seed, but like I said, the Sixers got a lot of question marks. Can the
Mhm.
Knicks, be a good team again? Are the what's the state of the Nets? I mean, if Simmons is in fact back, that'll help them a lot. But like the Heat too, they obviously couldn't get Damian Lillard. They're running it back. Some would argue they got worse. And then, yeah, you got the Hawks, Bulls, Raptors, Pacers, Orlando kind of in that like
Yeah.
jam lock. So I think ultimately it will be fun in the East. We could see some surprises, like I said, but it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But Bucks or Celtics coming out of the East. And if I had to put money on it as of right now, I got the Celtics making it to the NBA Finals.
Celtics, yeah. So I would say Celtics Bucks Eastern Conference Finals for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's in my opinion. That's the Eastern Conference Finals matchup for this year. But like you said, like there's those dark horses. Like I know the Wizards got Jordan Poole, and he's been playing pretty well for them. Maybe he can carry the team. I don't know what's gonna happen, but there's a couple of question marks. Like you said, the gate's very open in the East. Now turning our attention to the West, like you said, with the Lakers making some not big moves, but solid moves in terms of getting those role players like in Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, for example, Jared Vanderbilt. You see a lot of teams in the West getting much better. The West is much open as well. What do you think?
Oh, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Like the West is tough. Like I dropped my standings predictions actually on TikTok, and like the West, I took a while to like dissect
Yeah,
and go into it because you can make a case for a lot of these
yeah,
teams.
it's very close. Like the standings are everyone's like it's a wide open game. The West is looking very much like the Houston Rockets made a huge splash in this free agency, getting Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks. Like that's a plus. Victor Wembanyama just starting his first season. We'll see how that pays off. The Jazz look like a dark horse. Like they look
Yeah,
stacked. Walker Kessler's looking pretty good for them. And then they got what's his name, Collins. They got Collins from Atlanta as well. So the gate is much more open in the West, I think. But who do you think is going to make it to like the Western Conference Finals this year? Like who's going to be the matchup? Do you think?
yeah, and the thing is, we haven't even mentioned the Nuggets yet, and like they're
Yeah,
still the defending
no, yeah,
champions. I know they lost Bruce Brown, but that's still a well-oiled machine. I mean, Jokic, as long as he's healthy,
yeah.
Jamal Murray, that
Jeez.
is still
Yeah.
arguably the best duo in the NBA that's proven it at a high level. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to bet against them. And I mean, like, listen, I'm a huge Kawhi Leonard fan, rightfully so. Like, look what he did for the Raptors. So
Yeah.
like,
You
I'm
really want
always
to try
pulling.
to.
I'm low key always pulling for the Clippers in the West, and that's been my pick to come out of the West for the last like 3 seasons. I'm not going with the Clippers though, although I do want to see them succeed. So
Yeah.
I think ultimately, like, if I had to give you a Western Conference Finals, I think we will get Suns Nuggets. I really do.
Yeah.
I think
That's
the Nuggets
oh,
are going to be as advertised again. And then I can see the Suns, being very lethal. I know they don't have a true point guard, but I think they're going to make it work over there. So,
no, like they already have Booker, who's just been like a point guard, shooting guard,
yeah.
sometimes small forward for them. And then you bring in Bradley Beal to complement him, Kevin Durant
Yeah.
there. Then you got Bol, all these role players, Yuta Watanabe. Like the Suns are
Mm.
looking very,
And I
very
really like Nurkic for them too. I think like
yeah.
Aiden's the better
Yeah,
player, but Nurkic is going to be the better fit for what they're trying to do there. So I
yeah.
think that was a big get for them in that
That's a big get. I know, like
three
that
team
really
deal.
boosted the team. The Suns are looking really great because they gave up Chris Paul. Chris Paul went to the Warriors. So the Suns and the Nuggets, even though they lost Bruce Brown, didn't really affected the team because they're still having those beautiful players back for this season as well. So we'll see how that goes, man. But yeah, like this whole gate is wide open in both respective
Yeah.
conferences. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, like I would say like my NBA Finals pick, it's
Yeah.
Suns Celtics. I think the Suns come out of the West, Celtics come out of
Yeah.
the East. And I'm
I don't
not
know.
ready to say who's going to win a chip because I have no idea, but I think that will be the finals matchup.
Listen, Luca, I'll say it like this. If the Denver Nuggets and the Suns make it to the Western Conference Finals, that's the predicted matchup everyone has in their agendas. I feel as if it will go to game seven.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that will go to game seven for sure. But yeah, Celtics Bucks is going to be a good series as well. Celtics, when they lost Marcus Smart, I was thinking, okay, they're going to they brought Porzingis, but what are they going to bring really that point guard vibe back that Smart kind of did for them? and they went and acquired Drew Holiday, and that
Yeah.
kind of shifted everything because you got Drew Holiday now, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown's always going to be playing at a really, really good level for them. But Drew Holiday is going to complement that for sure.
Yeah, Celtics have the best top six when you look at it like roster wise, and the Suns are probably the most talented roster, arguably from top to bottom. And yeah, that's what I see. But again, you can't count out teams like the Nuggets, and then hey, the Bucks. It's scary duo, man. Giannis and Lillard. Like if they click right away, they could be super super scary. But
I didn't even know that trade would fall through this season. And I didn't even think about having those two even on a team prior to this trade.
yeah,
But
it's like an NBA 2K scenario, right?
yeah, like
Like
a 2K mock-up trade.
it's
And
ridiculous.
the manager just says, yeah, I'll accept it. I'll override it.
Yeah, like just out of nowhere. Because I
Out of
honestly thought
nowhere,
like
right? Yeah. So it's
we
fun to
all thought he was going to Miami, right? So like
yeah,
nobody saw the Bucks, and when
yeah.
it hit, I'm like, damn, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's gonna be fun to watch. This season's gonna be a lot better than last season in terms of the standings. For our hometown team, for the Toronto Raptors, they're looking much better. Bring in a lot of rotational guys. They're gonna pull through. They're gonna be much better. I think they'll get out of the first round. That's my prediction. But going into the second round, they might, versus the Sixers. You know, that's going to be kind of interesting if they versus the Sixers sometime in the playoffs, whether that be the first round or the second round, because Nick Nurse is on the Sixers now. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that, Luca? Because this man, he betrayed us in some way and went to Embiid town, public enemy number one.
Oh,
Bro,
dude, I'm looking forward to their first, matchup in the season. Like that's gonna be
that's gonna
absolutely
be
amazing. Like
yeah,
just
that's gonna be
seeing
good.
seeing Nick Nurse come back to Toronto, like the type of reception he's gonna get. What do you think? You think they're gonna boo him?
I think maybe they won't in terms of the respect he has because he won us the chip, but they might in the sense that when Nick Nurse came to the Raptors, when he became the head coach, Luca, that was around the time when Dwayne Casey left, right? Dwayne Casey got fired. Nick Nurse was under Dwayne Casey. So he was drawing up the same plays Dwayne Casey already drew up for the team. So Dwayne Casey should have respectively won that title, not Nick Nurse. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I think Nick Nurse gets a lot of flack. Like he is a great coach. I think he's still like bar none, like one of the best coaches in the NBA. And look, I have no like ill will against him. It's a business at the end of the day.
For
He
sure.
he
Yeah.
did he did come into a very good situation
Yeah.
because the Raptors had a stacked roster. You have a superstar in Kawhi Leonard. So Nick Nurse couldn't have asked for a better situation, but he did do, a great job for that team. And like until somebody else comes in and does what he does. Like Nick Nurse right now is the greatest Raptors coach of all time. I don't think anybody's going to argue against that. So it is what it is with Nick Nurse. I'm not like going to hold a stigma towards them. I actually do hope, he has a good tenure and he succeeds. But at the same time, I think it's going to make good theatrics. And I think it's going to be a good storyline. And I would love nothing better for the Raptors to, blow out the Sixers in Nick Nurse's return to Toronto. And I think Nick's going to have his work cut out for him because look, the Sixers, they're still a team you can't write off. Embiid's obviously the reigning MVP. I think Maxi's going to have a brilliant year. I think he's going to take a leap. Like he's a solid talent, but there's that whole debacle with James Harden. His relationship with Morey is unrepairable, reportedly. So, like, what are the Sixers going to do? Like, they cannot possibly expect to run this season, in my opinion, with James Harden when there's issues between he and Morey. Like, they got to just get this deal out of the way. But the problem is there's not a whole lot of suitors for Harden. Like he's not the player that he used to be. Teams know if they trade for him, he brings so much drama. And the only team that has interest are the Clippers, but they reportedly don't want to give up Trey Mann. So it's like the Sixers might be handcuffed here, Daniel, to a point where they have this disgruntled star in Harden. They can't move him. And then if he's unplayable and he does all these like off the court shenanigans, like that might create a toxic environment in Philly. So Nick Nurse is going to have to figure this thing out quick because we
Yeah.
know that Philly faithful, they let you hear about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I've been in Philly, man, and I wore a Raptors hat, and people were like, "Why are you wearing that, man?" I'm like, "What are you saying? Like, this is my
That's
hometown.
crazy.
We won the chip. We're better than you." And then they kept dying at me. Anyway, but just on time, man. We're like 10 minutes. That's a 10-minute mark, so just on time, just for you to know. But yeah, like the Sixers, you brought up Tyrese Maxey. It was kind of funny to see that he was in potential trade scenario options when Lowry was on the team with Toronto, Kyle Lowry, because they were thinking of trading Kyle Lowry to the Sixers back to his hometown for Tyrese Maxey. That didn't fall through. Lowry gets shipped off to Miami, and we get Goran Dragic, fan favorite of Toronto, of course, and Precious Achua. Now, which deal would you have taken if you were Nick Nurse?
Like if they had the chance to get Maxi instead of the
Yeah,
Precious deal at the
Maxi is one, or Goran Dragic and Precious Achua.
Oh, definitely the Maxi deal. That's the one that I was
Yeah,
advocating for at the
like
time.
I was rooting for that one,
Like
man.
I was hoping Masai was going to pull off the fleece, but I knew deep down the Sixers, there was no way in hell the Sixers were going to give up on Tyrese Maxey, especially since Morey's tough to deal with. You know, he in a sense overvalues his players or always wants top dollar for his players in a trade. I knew they weren't going to give a Maxey. So I think the Raptors, you know, all things considered, I think, you know, Precious, this is going to be a big season for him, but I liked the return given the situation because you look at Kyle Lowry, he's not what he was, and we've seen it now. Like he's not the Raptor Kyle Lowry with Miami. So, you know, at that time of the deal, yeah, Dragic, you know, it ended up being what it was, and it wasn't a good fit at all. But you get Precious, and Precious still very young, still talented. And that's one of the things I'm looking forward to for the season. You know, having Precious under a player development coach like Rajakovic, can Rajakovic unlock him? And can Precious step up and be a very big bench piece? Because, you
Yeah,
know, he's definitely going to get a rotation spot. So I
yeah,
think at that time it was, you know, good return
yeah.
because I don't think the Sixers were going to give up Tyrese Maxey at
No,
all.
yeah, like it would be good to see Lowry go back to his hometown, reunited with his, local town, hometown team. But back then, like you said, it's always going to be a business at the end of the day, in the sense that, yeah, the Raptors did what's best for them. They got Achua, they got Dragic. Dragic didn't play out like we wanted it to, but it's fine. We have Schroeder now, which is going to be amazing this season. Precious Achua, like you said, under Darko Rajakovic, I think he will prosper in the best light
Yeah.
possible. We're I know he has it in himself. Probably as well. He has it in himself to become better this season. I'm just waiting for that spark to happen, and
Yeah.
he comes off the bench and he just facilitates the plays much better with Pascal by his side or a big man by his side like Boucher. So it's gonna be fun to watch this season. So yeah, we're gonna wrap things up, Luca. I just want to see like what your final thoughts are on the Raptors going into this season, and then I'll have a last question, but we'll go with this one first.
Yeah, the vibe should be better. Team should be better than last season. I said it earlier. I think the Raptors are going to be a 6 seed. I do think they'll get into the playoffs. I think they're going to play more of a, you know, solid style of play on both sides. I think they're going to be much better offensively. We've seen it already. I think defensively they were always going to be good. I didn't have concerns about that, but I think the biggest things are the offense is going to look a lot better. There's not going to be a whole ton of stagnant play like we saw last season, and I do think the bench is going to be a very big difference maker for this team this season. So yeah, all in all, I got the Raptors finishing sixth, and you know, hopefully, and I haven't even mentioned this yet, hopefully, and I do think it'll happen, Scotty Barnes takes that third year leap. And that's actually my pick to win most improved player of the year. I do think Scotty Barnes will take that massive leap. And that's actually the reason why I have the Raptors finishing sixth, because we saw it in that preseason outing against the Bulls. If Scotty takes that leap, and he's showing it, right? He looks more confident. He's aggressive. He's shooting the ball better, which is great to see from the field and from three. And he coexists with Siakam while Siakam still gets his. I think the Raptors are going to definitely exceed those expectations. So
Yeah,
if that 1-2 punch can be
yeah.
consistent this season and they
Mhm.
get the supporting help, you know, right beside them, I think they're going to be that 6 seed.
Yeah, I mean, like back in the day, it was always Larry and DeRozan for us, but now that culture has shifted into Scotty and Pascal. So it's gonna be looking good this season, Luca. I'm kind of looking forward to it with Dennis Schroeder and the rotational players going to be looking good. So I'm happy towards that. But also my last question for you, Luca. This is an interesting one. I just thought I would ask you this. What advice would you have for like any future generations looking to get into this sports media industry, like what we're doing right now? Interviewing, podcasts, content creation. And what does the pathway look like for them? I know it's always changing, every day is changing, but what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I
Mhm.
mean, I know it sounds cliche, but definitely, never giving up. Like just always staying true to yourself, believing in yourself. And if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. Like I've been grinding for years, and there were times where, I had my dark moments of thinking, damn, is this gonna pan out? It's a very, very tough industry, as everybody's a content creator now. Everybody's got phones, everybody's got cameras. So
True.
it is very saturated, but at the same time, if you want it bad enough, you work hard every single day and you just continue to do things like this, working on your craft, putting out content, eventually something's going to stick. A piece of content's going to go off, somebody's going to recognize you, and then that's going to lead to opportunities. So just staying consistent and trying to get better every single time, try to do just a little bit better the next time. So, getting better with your craft day by day. And also, yeah, utilizing online, because really like that can be a huge benefit that, people didn't have many years ago, where it's like, you start a YouTube channel, you start a podcast, you start a TikTok, and all of a sudden you gain a lot of attention, you
Yeah,
gain
for
this
sure.
following. That's valuable, and that's gonna get those people to recognize you, and then it's up to you to make good on those connections. What you're doing is tremendous. Doing this, emailing the right people, trying to get guests on your show, connecting with them, because then you don't know. Then after they're gonna remember this, and then if something comes up like an opportunity, they're gonna remember these things. So just
Just
yeah, grinding, hustling, connecting with as many people as you can, and just doing what you do.
that's amazing advice, man. Like, there's only like 2 minutes left, but just to say like thank you for doing this, man. Like, this is my first video. Actually, like I posted like fun YouTube videos, like content creations things. I got a couple like good views in my opinion, like 30, 40. That's a good start for me. But I got scared and I took them down. But now, like, after this, I'm probably just gonna go consistent with my content. So I appreciate you doing this, Luca. I appreciate it. Big fan of yours. Keep doing the TikTok videos. I love them, and I will comment on each one. Each one. Yeah, but thank you for doing
No, I
this, man.
appreciate it, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, definitely keep up the content grind, man. And I want
Yeah,
to see you post consistently on your YouTube channel and just keep it going. And yeah, you know what? Like we fall so much into like numbers, and if a video bombs, you feel bad and it's like, let me take it down. Look, I sometimes get in that rabbit hole still myself, but it's important to just keep it all up and just know that these are all mini reps to eventually get to the major rep,
yeah, to
right?
the
Like you're
top,
you're
right?
you're
Yeah,
you're hitting singles, but like eventually you're gonna hit that home run,
for
and
sure.
then it's just gonna be an accumulation of all the work you put in prior to that. So that's my advice to that. Just keep the content rolling, for better for worse. You're gonna get better as you go on, and yeah, eventually something's gonna hit, man.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing this, man. I'll definitely bring you in the near foreseeable future for sure. Probably in the mid season, I'll get in contact with you to see how the Raptors are doing in the season, coming into the trade deadline. But we have less than a minute, so I'm gonna sign off. Thank you so much, Luca Rosano. Luca Rosano, of course, you can follow him on his TikTok, socials, Instagram as well, YouTube. So I'll put that in the link in the description below for you all. So go and follow my guy. He is my guy. That's all, guys. Have a great one. Thank you.